It's here.
Nick, we happy?
Oh, we happy. Hey film friends, I'm Nick Furman. This is Furman On Film. Welcome to the channel. In today's video, we'll be picking up our discussion of the top nominated films from 2022 and reviewing The Fabelmans. Now, if you wish to skip around, we have timestamps in the description below. And of course, as always, please stick around to the end to get our FOF rating out of 5 stars. Without further ado, this is The Fabelmans. It's the coming-of-age story of a young man who aspires to be a filmmaker. The tale of the birth of a legend, young Sammy Fabelman, in post-World War II Arizona. The ways that his mother and his father molded and shaped him into the director he would become. The family's secret that threatened to tear them all apart. And the magic of cinema to communicate the truth to the world. This is The Fabelmans. Well, let's start with some things that I liked about the picture. There are a number of terrific scenes in The Fabelmans, but any discussion of what I liked best must begin with the Judd Hirsch sequence. Hirsch shows up on the Fabelmans' doorstep unexpectedly. He enters the fray, sets fire to everything in about 10 minutes, and then leaves in a flash. A perfect supporting actor performance if I've ever seen one. Now, in some ways, Hirsch is playing like the prophet or the siren in this tale. The truth-sayer pontificating on the conflict between family and art. It's definitely thematic exposition dumping, but the energy and the verve, the hard-nosed delivery, it's just perfect stuff. The ending scene is also just the perfect chef's kiss. I won't spoil the cameo, but suffice it to say, the individual means a lot to me. And the famous figure that he's playing is just picture perfect. We'll come back to this one in just a few. I also wanted to shout out what I think really is the best performance in The Fabelmans. Now, we've heard so much about Michelle Williams, Paul Dano, Judd Hirsch, and rightfully so. All of their work is terrific. But to me, Gabriel LaBelle's work stands above the rest. With only a few film credits, he gets the trepidatious honor of playing Steven Spielberg as a teenager. How'd you like to carry that burden? Now let's start to talk about some of the things that I disliked. 2 words: Seth Rogen. Look, I love the dude. The late aughts Apatow comedies that he's a part of are some of my favorite films. And I'm not trying to be a hater here. I'm definitely not arguing that comics can never be serious actors. Rogen just took me out of the authenticity of the time period in the film. This is a period piece in many ways, and he's in a role that needs to be tight because he's a big part of what sets off the conflict. I honestly just found his presence to be distracting. Now, the real meat of this picture comes in discussing the themes and getting sort of meta about the man who was behind the camera. So we'll tease out my other critiques as we go through these. The first thing to note is that The Fabelmans is one in a long line of autobiographical pictures from major auteurs that came out in 2022. Pictures that basically arose from older directors sitting in COVID isolation and thinking back over their own lives. Now, some of these were not very good. On the poor end, there is Inarritu's Bardo and Sam Mendes' Empire of Light. Now, fortunately, there were a couple of really solid pictures as well, like James Gray's Armageddon Time and, of course, this film, Spielberg's The Fabelmans. So the question becomes, what does Spielberg want to communicate about his life in movies? The first thing is this dynamic about family and art. I mentioned the Judd Hirsch scene earlier, but in that, he, acting as Uncle Boris, says, family, art, it will tear you in two. Art will give you crowns in heaven and laurels on earth, but also it will tear your heart out and leave you lonely. You'll be a shanda for your loved ones. Art is no game. Art is dangerous as the lion's mouth. It will bite your head off. So the point is that making movies has power, but it can leave you separated from your loved ones. Speaking of loved ones, that's another major theme of The Fabelmans. Spielberg is clearly interested in talking about how he came to be what he is. How he is equal parts mother and father, made up of the creative energies of his dancing and piano playing mother, and the intellectual engineering aspects, the nuts and bolts solution finder from his father. But The Fabelmans is not cinema verite. It's not even really authentic. No, this is an act of myth-making, to be sure. It's right there in the title. This is fable. This is the stuff of legends. For this film, Spielberg once again uses cinematographer Janusz Kaminski. He's been working with him on a number of films now. One of Kaminski's touchstones are these really bright, hazy tones. And this only reinforces the romantic tone of the film more. Now look, this is all well and good. A pristine-looking picture with great performances and tons of morals. The trouble is that it just kept me tonally distant for the majority of the picture. But this is the most ironic thing. Why? Because Spielberg's films are never distant to me. All of his early films hit me on a personal level. And one of them starred a freaking alien puppet. Look at the childlike wonder and earnestness in them. I mean, what's the vintage signal that you're in a Spielberg film? Looking to the sky. But all of these films also wrestled with this family secret and drama between his parents too. Just look at how the adults behave in Jaws and Close Encounters, for instance. Who's in the know and who isn't between the adults and kids in so many of his movies? All the divorced and absentee parents. The point I'm trying to make is that Spielberg has been telling his personal story for over 50 years. He's a man who's made a major blockbuster in 4 different decades. Some would even say 5. And ironically, when it came time to get down to it and explore his realist self, well, Spielberg's got a Spielberg. And so we get pure earnestness. We get archetypes. Bullies who learn lessons. Old Steven just couldn't stop spinning fables for the masses. So what do we conclude? The Fabelmans is a pretty fitting send-up for the man whose work is the very quintessence of movie magic. Now, I've heard some critics say that they wish Spielberg would have used his prodigious talents in service to higher art. But you see, he never wanted to identify himself in the artistic lineage of Stanley Kubrick or Orson Welles. No, it's right there in the movie. He wanted to be in the lineage of John Ford. And at 76 years old, with 35 films and counting to his name and no signs of slowing down, I'd say he's done it. Well, there you have it. The only thing left to discuss is our rating for this film. The FOF rating for The Fabelmans is 4 out of 5 stars. If you enjoyed this review, please let us know by hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. You can also hit that little bell so you get notified every time we release a new video. Would also love to hear your comments. Do you agree with our rating? What was your score? And please don't forget to head on over to FurmanOnFilm.com where you can explore our blog and check out a lot of our written reviews and other content. Thanks for watching. I'm Nick Furman. This is Furman on Film. Stay firm, my friends.